I'm going to be taking a look at the updated terms of service for CapCut. You further grant to us a worldwide license to your username, image, likeness. You also waive any and all rights to privacy, publicity. Oh boy, it gets worse. Welcome back. I'm an attorney that specializes in intellectual property and business law, and I don't want to be upset today. I don't want to upset you, but we got to do this together. All right, so I'm going to be taking a look at the updated terms of service for CapCut. The terms of service is a document, a contract that you sign when you use the application. So this is a legal document, and what we're going to try to determine today is whether we should continue using CapCut based on what they put in this contract. So without further ado, let's jump into it. And if you like to learn and stay legally protected, well, this is the channel for you, so be sure to subscribe right now. All right, here we go, and I'm going to jump to it, but terms of service, last updated June 12th, 2025, and of course, CapCut is owned by ByteDance Limited. By accepting these terms, you agree that you are signing a binding contract with CapCut. We may amend and update the terms from time to time as we so choose, right? So that's why when you guys see this last updated, because they just will make changes and it's up to you to come back and take a peek. So that's why we come back and we take a peek. So anything that you upload, post, publish, transmit, it's going to be called user content. Why do we care? Well, all your content, user content, will be considered non-confidential. What does that mean? Are you gonna, You must own the user content. You must have the necessary rights, the clearances to all elements of your user content. For example, if you only own the rights in and to the sound recording, but not the underlying musical works embodied in your sound recording, then you must not upload or otherwise make available such sound recordings on or through the service. This is something to think about because I know some of you create on Reels, right, or TikTok, and you might download and then finish the edit using CapCut, and so sometimes you'll have the sound, let's say from TikTok. So what they're saying is if you have someone else's song or the underlying composition right in that song, well, technically you've already breached the contract, so you're actually not supposed to have any music that you don't actually own that you then put into CapCut. So that's number one. Except as expressly provided, you are the owner of the copyright and all the intellectual property that you submit to us. You know, that's tough. That's tough. I don't think that's the case for a lot of people who use this app. This is where we're getting into it. You further grant to us and our affiliates, our agents, service providers, so basically all the companies and people that work with us, a royalty-free, fully transferable, including sub-licensable, we're going to come back to that, worldwide license to your username, image, likeness to identify you as the source of any of your user content, including for use in sponsored content. Okay, so we definitely don't like this because I don't want anybody using anything that I put into CapCut for any kind of promotional purposes, for sponsored content. And so this is not only actually giving the right, and I'll go back to this language, but giving the right to have the content that you edit in your CapCut videos used by CapCut, but CapCut is saying that it can give the right to someone else, right? So it said the sub-licensable. So it can say to a third-party company or person that you can use the videos, you can use my face, your face, yikes. You acknowledge and agree that you allow us to upload such content to our server and hereby grant us, our affiliates, agents, service providers, partners, and other connected third parties an unconditional, irrevocable, non-exclusive, royalty-free, meaning they're not going to pay you, royalty-free, fully transferable, including sub-licensable, meaning they can give it to someone else, like another company, perpetual, meaning you cannot take it back, yikes, worldwide license to use, modify, adapt, reproduce, to make new versions of, that's what derivative means, to make new versions of, display, publish, transmit, distribute, and or store your user content for providing the services to you. Now I'm gonna see, is there any kind of caveat if you are paying for a subscription on CapCut versus using the free tier? Or is it even if we are paying money to CapCut, CapCut is still gonna say that it can use our videos without our permission, give them to other people, other companies, use it for sponsored content? Oh boy, it gets worse. By uploading or making available your content services, you waive any right to prior inspection or approval of any marketing, advertising, or promotional materials related to your stuff. You also waive, to the extent permitted by the applicable law, any and all rights to privacy, publicity, or any other rights of a similar nature in connection with your user content or any portion thereof. You hereby waive, to the extent permitted by applicable law. You agree never to assert, oh my gosh, this is what it says. You agree never to assert any and all moral rights you have in and with respect to any of your content that was uploaded, so moral rights usually go to like what was almost appropriate, right? So the intended purpose of using CapCut is not that we all want to give copies of our stuff to a company to then use to freely advertise, or even, I mean, it's technically, could they sell your stuff? Because it says it's transferable, royalty free, so they're definitely not going to pay you anything for it. And then right here it goes, it's a waiver to your right to give any kind of approval, and it's a waiver of your moral rights. In the context of copyright, think of moral rights as like the integrity of the work. If you make a song, you intend your song to not be adapted into something new without your permission, to be credited to you if someone's going to use it, that they say to the world that it came from you, stuff like that. Oh boy, it goes on. We or authorized third parties reserve the right to cut, crop, edit, refuse to upload your content in our sole discretion. In addition, we have the right, but not the obligation, to remove, disallow, block, delete any of the user content. We accept no liability. All right, so what? We can't sue you in respect to any of the content or information submitted or made available by users of the services and made available on the services or published elsewhere by users and or third parties. I love it when companies do this. So they just say, you are waiving all these rights. And then also, even if we actually do something that causes you harm, or in the case of someone using your face and your content without authorization, I mean, what if you have videos of your kiddos? What if you have very private, sensitive things that you had never intended for the world to see? Anyone using CapCut is not intending, well, a good portion of the world is not intending for the entire world to be able to see everything created on CapCut. And even then, for a company to essentially be like a multimedia company where they're saying, use our app, you're going to give us the right to your content, and we're going to pay you nothing for it. Ah, here we go. This is what's called an indemnity provision. So it says, you shall indemnify and hold us, CapCut, harmless, and all of our affiliates, all the people and subsidiaries that work with us, our officers, our directors, from any and all losses, claims, liabilities, damages, costs, expenses, including but not limited to attorney's fees and expenses, which may arise out of a breach by you or any of your use of the applicable terms. So basically what this means is that you agree to come and pay the legal fees for CapCut if anything bad happens. So let's be clear on this. CapCut is saying they won't protect you. They're not going to defend you. They're not going to indemnify you. You're agreeing to paying their attorney's fees, their costs if something bad happens. They're going to go ahead and use all the stuff that you put on their platform. They're going to be able to advertise using your face without your permission. And actually, that's not even the case. You gave your permission. That's the purpose of the terms of service. Oh, and it gets better. Okay, so this is the limitation of liability provision. It says, we shall not be liable to you for any lost profit, lost money, directly, indirectly, any loss of goodwill, so embarrassment, or if you lose followers or fans or like whatever, loss of goodwill. Any loss of opportunity, any loss, corruption, disclosure, access, alterations, misuse, manipulation, or other data issues suffered by you, any of your consequential punitive damages. So you're just waiving everything. You cannot bring pretty much any claim against this company. They put it all in big text like this too, because then they'll argue to the court later that they gave you notice. They're like, of course they read it and saw this because it's in such big text. Look at it. It's all bolded up. And here we go. You cannot seek anything that is higher than what you paid to CapCut within 12 months before such bad thing happened, or $50. So let's be clear on this. CapCut exploits your name and likeness, takes copies of your intellectual property, meaning copyright, in your stuff by making copies. You've already given permission, right, pursuant to the contract. And let's say they humiliate you. They post something that was never supposed to be seen, or they disclose something that was very sensitive. Again, like your family, your children. If you want to sue them, the most that you could sue them for is essentially $50. I gotta be honest, I know what I'm gonna be doing with this information, but please drop a comment down below. Will you continue to be using CapCut? I'll see you on the next one.